but I want to make sure that I let people at least hear about how this Netflix special that everybody's watched and loved When They See Us. How did it come about?
Wow. So, you know, Raymond Santana, it's a funny story because when you hear the terminology, of course, it makes you think of all kinds of other stuff, right? But he slid into Ava's DM. And he said, he was like, man, you know, hey, what's your next, basically he tweeted her and he said, what's your next movie gonna be? Central Park 5? You know, and he had like his fingers crossed. And then they were talking after that. She retweeted his tweet and then he slid into her DM and now they were like, hey, so she was like, hey, nobody has your story? And it was like a godsend. Like this story could not have been told in a more powerful way, both the good and the bad. That being one of the most blessed things that could ever happen. And then imagine being ran through the mud in such a way that 2 weeks after you were accused of the crime, the person who would become the president of these United States takes a full-page ad out calling for your death. I'm saying that the juxtapositions of the two extremes at two different times and how it all came together. And of course, we sat down after they had their initial meeting and we all sat down with Ava and we were at the Cecil in Harlem. And we were just chopping it up, talking about the possibilities and, you know, one thing led to another. This was about maybe 5 years before we even began to tell the public about When They See Us, this film.
Dr. here's my question. Is it something you wanted to do? Did you want this story to be told? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
As a matter of fact, I think the natural progression of the way our story was being released to the world was that we came out 13 years after we were accused through deoxyribonucleic acid freeing us. So DNA was a component that made sure that folks knew these guys didn't do this. No way, no how. The lady lost 3/4 of her blood. No semen from these guys was in this woman. No blood was from her was on them. Impossible, right? That was late 2002, early 2003. We met a young woman named Sarah Burns. We're fighting this thing. We're trying to figure out how to get our names back. We have a lawsuit that we filed. We meet Sarah Burns. She comes into Beldock, Levine and Hoffman, one of the law firms that was representing us, specifically representing me. And she bumps into Raymond Santana. And one of the attorneys says, oh, you two should meet each other. She was just about to graduate college, going into law. And so they sit down and meet, and then one thing leads to another. She writes a book. First of all, she writes a paper. She writes her thesis about the Central Park 5. She sits down with all of us, writes her thesis. This thesis turns into a book called The Central Park 5, A Chronicle of a City Wilding. The book is then being revised, edited, checked out by her father, Ken Burns. We then meet Ken Burns.
Wow.
Ken Burns says, this got to be a movie. We got to turn this into a film. And so we sit down with Ken Burns and we, for the first time ever, had the opportunity to tell our stories. Ken Burns, the Central Park 5 documentary, gave us our voices back.
Yeah.
And so it was a natural path for the next thing to happen, for this to be some type of feature, right? Some type of feature.
Yusef, as my mother used to say, everything about that was in divine order. Everything about that was in divine order. Now listen, I got 3 more questions to get in before I bring out Byron to join us and take this thing to another level. So here's my last question about the Netflix movie. How did you feel about your portrayal?
I thought it was excellent.
Okay, you liked it.
I feel like it gave people enough, and it was a lot of mystery still there, and it was like, man, damn. And so now you see me, you say, well, how did that guy get through that? And so for me to be able to tell the story about prayer and about meditation and all of that good stuff, how that is real and how that helps, you know, how when you're going through something, you got to be still and let God.
Okay, now listen. This is going to be a Sean and Yusef question, not Dr. Yusef and not Dr. Sean. All right, I'm going to tell you right now. Now, be honest with me. Was it weird seeing yourself portrayed rather, on camera? Wasn't that kind of weird?
It was very weird because and then seeing like a young version of me, and then seeing the older version of me, I was really pleased with it though. I was happy. It was weird, but I was like, man, I really loved it because I am not just a member of the Exonerated Five. Like my story is not just that, but to have my story told in such a way where people got the understanding that it was 5 people that this happened to, that it was Yusef, Antron, Kevin, Corey, and Raymond, that you knew them as the Central Park 5, but you need to know their names because they're more than the story that they were attached to.